Hey everybody, we are back with another video. So, this book I'm really excited to talk about, especially because I don't feel like a lot of people talk about it. I can't remember exactly like where I found it, but I think I was probably like, looking for some books to read on like Amazon or something, and this was recommended. But anyway, without further ado, we are reviewing Powerless. So, when you first hear about it, or when I first heard about it, it was kind of like, oh, like, no, it's about, like, the Marvel Universe, kind of without superpowers. But I thought it was going to be, like, their civilian lives. I thought, like, oh, it's, just, like, one day with no powers or something. Like, even the back of the book, you got Spider-Man swinging around. You got Wolverine being Wolverine. So I thought, like, no big deal, like, just like, a romp without, powers. That sounds pretty neat. But when you get into it, it's actually the world without superheroes. So that's pretty interesting. At least it was to me. And now, I'm not a psychology expert or anything, but I did try to take some. I was planning on majoring in psychology when I was in college. But obviously that didn't pan out like I wanted it to. But I wanted to be a therapist, and the main character we follow in this is actually a therapist. So, obviously, judging by the cover, we have Matt Murdock, we have Peter Parker, and we have James Howlett, Wolverine. So, that's part of the thing that makes it like interesting. We have like 3 different stories to follow. There are some cameos with some different characters. I don't want to spoil too much. But we have Peter Parker is working for Tony Stark, obviously because he's a smart kid. And, Tony's still developing the Iron Man suit. But we have Norman Osborn trying to steal it. So, Peter's still getting hounded by Norman. So that's, obviously one of the things that stays the same. And, again, it makes it interesting because Peter is, he's still a bullied kid in high school. But he's going to therapy, like, he's like, man, I just keep getting these weird, like, tingles, and I feel like I'm in danger all the time, and I'm freaking out. So it's, like, one of the interesting things, like, it's not super, like, dark like The Boys or anything, but it does put a real-world spin on, like, the classics. Again, like, the spider sense, and, like, he's kind of paranoid, so it's, like, it's still, like, comic booky, but it's not, like, dark and depressing or anything. Like, it's still, I think it has that balance. Because I do get kind of annoyed personally with, like, superheroes that, like, oh, we're going to make it dark and we're going to have everybody die and stuff. Like, that's not what superheroes are about. But granted, like I said, this isn't for everybody because, like, there aren't, like, superpowers and it's not, like, capes and tights and fights or anything. Like, so if you're looking for that, you're disappointed. But you're going to be disappointed. But, I thought it was a good story as someone that's interested in psychology. And then we have Daredevil, who is not in therapy, although he probably should be, knowing Matt Murdock. Because obviously in the comics he, like, drinks a lot, and he gets into a lot of problems with his alter ego and whatnot. But Matt Murdock is defending Frank Castle, and, you can kind of tell the Kingpin, Wilson Fisk, has set him up. So he is still trying to, like, defend him, and there's still, again, that, like, superhero aspect, but it's, put in a different context, kind of. And lastly, we have James Howlett, who's kind of like a military, like, co-op, special ops kind of character. And it's interesting because, again, no superpowers, but he has these, like, gauntlets that have, like, claws that pop out. So that's pretty cool. Like, again, like I said, no superpowers, but it's, like, got a real-world spin. So, like, that's something you could, if you had the money, you could make in your house or something. So that's kind of cool. I'm pretty sure some people on YouTube have made those, but I digress. It's pretty cool. Like I said, there are some cameos. Like, there's Tony Stark. We have, like, a little cameo from Bruce Banner, who's got, like, alter ego problems. And that's kind of, like, I think made comedic, because it's, like, no superpowers, but he's like, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry. yeah, and he's just like, you know, some nerd, obviously, like me, like, you know, nobody's really scared of him. It's just like some guy that gets angry. Oh no. But yeah, like I said, there's still like Victor Creed, and like there's some, you know, cameos from like supervillains, but there's no super powers or anything, no fights. We do get some crescendo, like action kind of near the end, because like I said, Wolverine is like a special ops agent, so that's kind of like he gets into like a fight, and he's set up for murder, obviously, because he has claws. So like he's set up for murder, and again he's kind of like going therapy for that. But he like, you know, is trying to like figure out what's going on. Like he's got amnesia, like in the comic books, and he's like, you know, sticking his claws to like the roof of the car. There's like a kind of car chase scene, and they like slam into a tree. But yeah, there is like action again with Norman Osborn. There's like Peter tries to like, you know, take one over on him, like he's the Spider-Man like on the internet, and he hacks into his system. And Norman's like, okay, this is like a literal teenage boy, like I'm gonna just kill him, because Osborn is trying to get the files on the Iron Man project. So he like, you know, kind of goes over and he kidnaps Gwen Stacy, obviously. And then he's like, hey, Peter, give me those files on the Iron Man project, or, you know, things are going to happen. And then we get to Matt Murdock again, and obviously he's a lawyer. Kingpin is still like the, you know, kingpin of crime, and he has Matt Murdock kidnapped and like thrown out in like a field, and he's still like a blind lawyer, so it's like just a regular blind man like wandering back to the streets of New York, and that would obviously be terrifying. I mean, we don't get like the nitty gritty of it, but like I can imagine like a blind man, like if you're stuck in a field and you're like, where am I going, like that kind of thing. But yeah, overall I think it's a really good story. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it too much, but this is a really interesting story. Like, again, somebody that's interested in psychology, like you still get bits and pieces of action, but yeah, overall pretty good. A world without superheroes. I was looking through it again, kind of making sure I didn't forget anything. But one thing I will bring up is, I mean, I read it, I enjoyed it, but I will say the artwork does take some, like, getting used to. Because when I first opened the book, I'm like, this art is probably going to be terrible. And I won't say it was terrible. Like I said, it just took some getting used to, for me, because it's like, kind of like, I'm not even sure the exact word for it, because like, it's kind of like gritty, so to speak. But I will just hold up this right here, just like as an example. Like, it gets, yeah, it's not, you know, like Mark Bagley or anything, but so that is like maybe a setback again for some people. Like I said, I enjoyed it, I read it, but overall I'd give the story like an 8 out of 10. I know it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but like, you know, me personally, pretty good. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for reading, and keep reading comic books. Peace.